every time I put on this backpack after I'm done packing it up, I'm like, oh, way too heavy. I gotta find a way to make it lighter, to cut some weight. I'd ordered a whole bunch of stuff, but it didn't get shipped in time, so I didn't get it for this trip out. But I was like, well, I'll just use the gear that I have and, you know, not have a wasted trip. Whew. Yeah, so I'm out here just getting comfortable, really comfortable with an uncomfortable pack and what that'll look like. Because in 2023, I'm going to be through hiking the Appalachian Trail. So I'm out here, call it a shakedown hike, call it just getting more acquainted with the outdoors, more acquainted with my gear, slowly building my kit. There's a lot I want to change. There's a lot of organization I still need to figure out. I think I want to get a different sleeping bag, still struggling with mid-layer, different things like that. But the more trips you make to the outdoors, the more you kind of learn. I'm definitely not ultralight, but I definitely don't want to be heavier than what I have to be. It's just a lot of odd, like my pods are not gonna pack nice, different things like that. And then the cooling unit, I've got like a Frio wallet, which is activated with just any cold water. And I can stick my insulin and any insulin pens in there, and that in itself is a lot of weight. But it keeps my insulin protected, keeps it cool in the backcountry. So I plan to carry that with me, but that's just odd and it's added weight. But it is what it is. So we're training, we're getting really comfortable being uncomfortable. Putting in the work now, so that hopefully next year be a little bit easier, and I'll know a little bit what to expect, know what my limits are in some ways, and be able to listen to my body better when I get on trail officially next year. So yeah, you got to do that work now. Got to learn what my body needs as far as fuel goes, and yeah, so that's what we're doing, having a good time. So why hike, and why hike the AT specifically in its entirety? The easiest explanation is the opportunity is there for me. I feel a lot of times we like staying in our nice little comfortable bubble. I definitely do that, to where we have these different opportunities that come up in our lives, and for one reason or another, we say no to them, whether we're afraid of failure, or it takes us out of our comfort zones, or we just feel like we can't. Like the culture around us is telling us, no, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that. And I feel like we miss out on a lot of things in life because we do that. We recently sold our family business, so don't really have a job at the moment. So it's a perfect opportunity to do it. But really what I wrote down in my why, because you got to start with why. Anytime you want to do something like this, it's a big task, and you gotta stay motivated. And if you don't have a good why, you're not going to follow through on it. So literally what I wrote down in my journal that I've started on my phone is my why: to recover, to restore, and to replenish. And it just holds this idea of slowing down, hitting pause, and allowing oneself to recover, or in other words, to heal from all wounds, whether they be mental, physical, or spiritual, to restore, or to repair, renovate, and reinstate to its original condition a courageous heart, and to replenish, to fill to the brim a life bathed in courage, joy, and grace. Those are exact words I wrote down in my little blog. But if we unpack this a little bit further, why the AT? I knew I wanted to do a long distance trail when this started rolling around in my brain, and the AT is the closest accessible one to me. As far as the 3 major long distance trails in the United States, it would be the easiest to get to. As a diabetic, it would be the easiest to work out getting supplies, be closer to family, where if something did happen or go wrong on the trail, it'd be easier to get home. I would love to do the Pacific Crest Trail, but that's on the opposite side of the United States, and I just wasn't comfortable doing that as my first major through hike. So that's why I decided on the AT. I had a old boss that I worked for when I was worked at a restaurant, local restaurant, when I was in high school, from basically middle school through high school. And my boss, he went and hiked the AT solo. So that, just hearing his story, super motivated me. I had just gotten into backpacking right around that time. And so it scratched the itch, I guess, a little bit. And then I also had another science teacher that also did a lot of hiking, hiked rim to rim in the Grand Canyon. And so it's always been kind of like a dream. And I've said to numerous friends, I said to my buddy Derek, I was like, hey, this was when like pandemic happened and like the whole world shut down. I was like, I think I want to like hike the AT before I'm 40. And he's like, do it, no hesitation. So the opportunity came up, and so I'm going to jump at that opportunity. Just kind of expanding further on my why is, like, I was diagnosed with a type 1 diabetic 10 years. It's going on 11 years ago. And I tell people all the time that it's mental. Like, there's no outside physical indicators of anyone that's a type 1 diabetic that they're struggling with anything. Now, there can be if you let yourself go, but for the most part, unlike a lot of other diseases out there, you can't really tell that someone's struggling. It's very internalized. The one thing with type 1 is anyone that's type 1, we are our own treatment for our disease, which is different than a lot of other diseases. Because a lot of times there's medication that kind of one takes, and they just take that medication, and it's to help treat. Now, some work better than others. But for type 1, you're in complete control of everything. So yes, you are taking insulin, which is the drug that's keeping you alive, but you're making all the micromanagement decisions yourself. And yes, we do have technology, but the technology doesn't have a brain, doesn't have a soul. It can't react in real time to what your body is actually going through. So there's a lot of work that's involved, just nonstop, 24/7, with managing type 1 and managing it well. And I also tell people that, like, being diagnosed as an adult, I think, is harder, because when you're an independent adult and get diagnosed, you don't have as tight of support system around you as what you would have if you were a child and got diagnosed. So just me as a guy, one of the things I didn't realize that I did was, when I was diagnosed, there was a part of me that completely shut down, because, like, I didn't know. Everything was new, and there was no one around me that understood. And so I just went into typical guy fix-it mode, and put my head down and just got to work and just internalized everything, and struggled, kind of sharing a lot of what I was going through, what I was feeling. And the thing with type 1 is the struggle is there's a whole bunch of little micro things that happen throughout the day that stack on top of each other, that wear on you over the course of hours, days, weeks, months, years. And if left unchecked, that can put you in a really dark place. And someone close to me that I love ended up in the ER with a super high blood glucose of like 1,500. And on one side, I was like, well, I don't even know how my body would react to something like a blood sugar that high. And like I couldn't even process it in some ways, but I could see how he got to that point, and he was just burned out. And I could see this track that I was on, that I'm like, okay, if I don't do anything, like, I can vastly get to that same point where I just do not care about my type 1, and whatever happens. It just wears on you. And it's hard to explain unless you are a diabetic, or unless you're around someone long enough and they're willing to open up to you. It's hard. But I definitely was in kind of a rut, a not too good place with my type 1 for the past couple years. And so this hike is basically me going and resetting and replenishing everything I lost in the past 10 years, restoring myself to the person I know I am and what I'm capable of. And so that aspect of it is what I think I'm looking forward to the most, because you don't really know the people you're going to meet out there. You don't really know what's going to happen, but it's a journey, and I'm looking forward to it. I know hiking is the absolute best thing that I can do for my blood sugar. So it's basically, I'm going on a long walk in the woods. It's going to be therapeutic for 5.5, 6 months. So, and I guess on the flip side of that, as like a micro why in there, is I am a diabetic, and I've now spent months researching this. And there are other type 1 diabetics that have successfully thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail. And shout out to Fun Facts, who's a fellow hiker, who has answered every question that I've sent her way. It's been really cool having her in my corner as someone that has thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail. So thank you, Fun Facts. Thank you to the Crawfords also for linking us up. So that's pretty cool. But there are other type 1 diabetics that have done this. It's just there isn't a lot of their journeys on YouTube at the moment. And so I love making films. I love taking pictures. So I guess that's one of my goals, is to be able to capture my journey, especially my journey with type 1 on the trail, to inspire the next generation of type 1 that, hey, like, there is nothing holding you back from chasing whatever dream you want to do in your life. If you're inspired to do something, get out there and do it. Type 1 doesn't have to hold you back, because there's people that are come alongside of you, and they're going to support you in ways that you never thought possible, and you will be successful. And so, yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be fun journey. So I invite you to all come along on that journey. And I definitely will be vlogging. I don't know if it's not gonna be daily vlogging, but probably be weekly vlogging on my Stronger Together YouTube channel. And then I'll be posting a lot of content, a lot of reels, different things like that on my Instagram, and that stuff will probably be daily. I'm working on different ways that if you wanted to invest and support my journey next year, you will be able to do that in several different ways. So that will come in another future video, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, I guess that's the official announcement to all my friends and family that in 2023 I will be thru-hiking the Appalachian Trail. So be sure to stick around, because my feeds will definitely be a lot of hiking from here on out. So hiking and fitness, that's what it is. All right.